Yeah. We've all seen it now, all the highlights, slow-mo, etc. Right at the start of the race, Valtteri Bottas, what a terrible start, as he's known to do, especially in the rain. He can't get it done. He's overtaken right away by Lando Norris. Yeah, Lando Norris and Sergio Perez. Max was already ahead of him. Couldn't slow down. Picks up or collects when he tries to break into turn one. It's almost like he got caught off guard, but he tries to pick up.
He did get caught off guard.
Yeah, I guess with Lando in front of him, he just didn't expect it.
Yeah, because he had Lando on his right, and he had
in front of him.
In front of him, yeah. But Lando coming on his right in front of him, and then you have Perez, and they kind of like sandwiched him in. So he had to brake at first.
Ruben looks a little like, what?
Yeah, and then I guess he misjudged where he was supposed to brake, and it was who was in front of him at that?
Lando.
It was Lando. And he just braked too late and just went right into him. It was almost like Nico Hulkenberg at Spa when he went into to Alonso and then catapulted him over Leclerc. Remember that? It was kind of like that, where they just completely missed the braking point. Obviously, it's raining, so it's slippery. And
at that point.
Yeah, and then it was a bowling match. It was just Bottas was the bowling ball. And the pins were the rest of the cars that were in front of him.
Jeez.
So Bottas slams into the back of Lando Norris, who also Bottas slammed into Perez too.
Yes.
Like on the recovery from the initial collision.
Mm-hmm.
Lando Norris then also picks up Max Verstappen, who was trying to make the turn in turn one, basically going wide. Hits Max Verstappen on the side, kind of like wrecks his right side barge board.
Mm-hmm.
Completely.
On the floor, too.
On the floor.
It looked like a half-eaten cookie.
With a bunch of tape.
That's exactly what that car looked like after that.
In the same turn, Stroll, trying to avoid the mayhem, tries to fly to the inside, misses the mark completely.
Goes on the grass. Which is where you never want to be when it's wet. Yeah.
Picks up Leclerc and also hits Daniel Ricciardo, who gets he hits Ricciardo, who gets damaged but continues the race.
Yes.
Yeah, he spun. Daniel Ricciardo spun.
So with that said, I just want to recap who's out. Bottas. Bottas is out.
Mm-hmm.
Usually a top 4 finisher, right? Usually. Leclerc's out. Usually a top 6 finisher. Stroll is out. Whatever. Okay. Perez is out, who you consider a top 6 finisher. Norris is out, who's top 5 in almost
every race
except for one, and this is the second one. And yeah, that's where we stand after turn 1, right?
On the first lap.
After
gonna be good.
What did you guys think of the incidents? Well, I guess we'll collect them. Incidents themselves.
I think it was a product of what I mentioned before. It's wet. They haven't ran in the wet. It didn't rain that much to wash away the rubbered in track. So obviously that water is just sitting on top of all that rubber, so it's more slippery. The fact that they couldn't run, so they don't know where obviously the braking points are going to change because you want to brake a little bit earlier. Something was going to happen. We just don't see it usually at the front, because when you run in the front, I think, and Lando was mentioning that, you would expect a different caliber of racing when you're running at the front because you're running at the front. Yeah, he said that. He was pissed.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, he was pissed. So, but you would expect something like that, in the midfield or towards the back where all the cars are more bunched up. You wouldn't expect it in the front. So the fact that it happened in the front, obviously, which made it for a better race because we got to see the result that we got. You get a ton of the front runners just out of the race.
Right.
And it made for, especially in a track that you can't overtake, it made for a very fun race.
Right, so it took out those 4 cars. And then also Max severely compromised and Daniel Ricciardo severely compromised. So like the normal like top 10 almost is...
Yeah, I mean, you had all of Red Bull out basically, half of Mercedes, half of Ferrari.
Yep. And all of McLaren.
And all of McLaren basically compromised there. Those are the top 4 teams completely compromised.
Ruben, what were your thoughts, brother?
I don't know. I think obviously Bottas did say, "Oh, it looked like everybody braked a little earlier than they were supposed to." But like, pay attention, dude.
It's rain,
I know,
dude.
all right, pay attention, dude. So,
No, yeah.
so by the time
obviously.
he realized he actually did not brake, he just slammed on the brakes and he just locked the tires. That at that point you can't go nowhere. So
And you're locking up the tires on a track that's super
yeah,
slippery.
that's what I'm saying. Now you're skating. Now you're in an
Yeah.
ice skating ring, and that's what it looked like. It looked like okay, I can't control anymore.
It kind of looked like you remember in Germany, it was Hockenheim where they were
19.
Yeah, where everybody went off on it was
same
a
corner.
drag strip.
Oh my God.
And everybody went off on that corner.
Where Leclerc had a
went
chance
off,
to win.
Leclerc went off,
Hamilton.
Hulkenberg went off, like a whole bunch of people went off. It looked similar to that. It wasn't as bad as that though. That was crazy.
So then on the Stroll side of it, dude, if you're gonna cut the corner, cut the corner, man.
Just cut it, right?
Yeah.
Don't try and then
Don't try just go
just
half of it
cut
or whatever. Yeah, just cut the whole corner.
I think
and
at
if
that
you're gonna
point-
get a penalty, you're gonna get a few
He
spots
wouldn't have
back.
had a penalty. He was avoiding the
Because
accident.
Exactly. So it would have been tough to penalize him like heavily with anything.
Yeah, just
Racing incident or whatever, avoiding the accident.
I didn't
But
think of that.
he tried
I
like
mean-
half cut it, and that's when he
Yeah.
ended up on top of Leclerc.
Yeah, but at that point, like you can get away with that if you're cutting the corner. Like you said, you can get away with it because you're avoiding the mayhem that is in front.
just cut the whole
And
corner.
all he did was just create more mayhem on top.
And that's where it opened up the door for Ocon and Vettel, which is right
Well, as what we mentioned earlier before we started recording, those who got a bad start actually came off better than those
Yes.
that got a good start.
So I mean, to
Except
me,
for Bottas.
yeah,
there. He had a horrible start. It's true.
dude, yeah. So yeah,
Gentlemen, the short you
press
back
the wrong
to
button.
live.
Hold on, let's do that again. Yeah.
That's
So
exactly what he said to everybody.
yeah, exactly. So
Especially the
I'm
Red
gonna
Bull.
put on my conspiracy theory hat. He had a bad start and was just like, you know what? The best thing I could do for my team is just wipe everybody out. I don't know.
You
No.
think he did that on purpose?
No, of
Bro?
course
Come
not.
on, man. Yo, listen, if he did that on purpose, that means he has great car control, and Mercedes should sign him right now for next year.
Yeah.
The fact that it's so crazy, the fact that
Poor Bottas.
yeah,
Get out of here. That's an amateur move, dude.
it is an amateur move. But
Okay.
listen, it's stuff that happens, obviously, especially in those conditions. It's just that I was just amazed that he took out both Red Bull drivers, your main rival. What a coincidence that is. And you know that Christian Horner was fuming after
Still.
that accident. Still. I
Still,
mean, he
at
had
the cops.
he had smoke coming out of his ears at the beginning of the race, and that turned into fire right after that accident.
Imagine Toto. Hey Horner, can I have a word? I don't know you.
Dude, well,
It
I'll
was
tell
something
you
like
what. Here's what happened after the race. They were interviewing Toto Wolff, and obviously he was apologizing for the situation because it was his driver. And then Horner was supposed to come up next, and he went up to Christian Horner after the interview was over to apologize. Horner said something to him. I don't know, but nobody knows what was said. But what he said what Toto Wolff after that said to Horner was like, "Can you at least be friendly? Be friendly." I guess. I mean, obviously, there's some bad blood there. I don't know, and I think everyone who's the one that's initiating that is Christian Horner.
The troll king.
Yeah, for real.
The soap opera continues.
Yes,
So
it just makes it better for us.
Yep.
do you
Can't wait for it.
expect?
Try to survive.
I'm gonna be 100% upfront, right? I see that move or lack of awareness from Bottas. I never expect that from Hamilton. I don't expect that from Max or Sergio. I don't expect that from Lando Norris at this point. Who else up front would have done that move or lack of move, would not have broken,
Up front, nobody.
right?
But
But if it was somebody else, you would be like, oh yeah, I would expect Bottas to do something like that.
no, but I mean the thing. I think that a lot of these drivers have had incidents like that. Maybe not at the moment. I can't
Yeah.
think of anything specifically,
Mm-hmm.
but these are things that happen. It's just the same way. Like we think Lewis Hamilton. Well, I don't know about you, Wells. I think Lewis Hamilton is probably one of the cleanest racers, clean racecraft, and
How could I ever deny that?
yeah. But he caused the accident last week for Max, because he slipped up because he understeered into him. Leclerc has had his moments. Max has definitely had his moments.
The rain is tricky.
It happens, and then especially when you introduce rainy condition or wet conditions, it happens. Not that it excuses him, because obviously you should know better, but these
I think
things
maybe
happen.
because
Remember, you're driving an F1 car at that speed in rainy conditions is very tricky. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Ruben.
no, I think most drivers have had like an incident. It might not be as as severe as Bottas had this weekend, but they have had rain incidents. For example, a while back, I think I don't know the year exactly. But I remember Hamilton in China trying to come into the pits, and he went. I think he went off or he crashed because he couldn't stop. So
I don't remember that, but
yeah, it was like every driver has had an incident.
oh well,
like
you
that,
see, Seb was a 4-time world champion spinning.
exactly.
Like it happens, unfortunately.
It's
Even
been-
though
it's been the- it's been the relative.
Seb, I think, was doing it a little bit too much. But
been the
it
relative.
happens. It happens.
So, in a rare instance of, well, before I get there, Stroll's just a knucklehead. Like, what are you doing, dude? Like, I get it, but
He doesn't make the best decisions,
no.
and it happens too often.
You sound like my parents.
I don't know what's wrong with this kid.
No,
And I
but
talk to him and I
yeah.
talk to him, and he just doesn't get through to his head.
Push Stroll.
Poor Stroll. Yeah, good choice of words there. So, in a rare, as a result of the mayhem on the first lap, in a rare turn of events, never really happens. The FIA handed out 2 5-place grid penalties, one to Bottas, one to Stroll.
Yes.
Justified, or should it just have fallen under the first lap racing incident?
No, this one's
Stipulation.
justified.
Why?
Because you took out like 5 or 6 cars. You know, you messed up the race for I don't know how many people. And when it's an accident like that where you have the car, one thing is like if you're fighting and going into a corner, the other thing is when you hit them directly, keep going basically. Like, so what happens is that
No, it's a T-bone.
no, not even a T-bone, because it was a direct. It's like when we're driving a regular car. Anybody who hits us from behind is automatically at fault. That's just the way it goes because you're controlling the brakes. You're controlling yourself. You have the option to either to brake or keep going or swerving or go another direction. The car doesn't control. The car ahead doesn't control that. So when you misjudge your braking point, go into the back of another car, and then on top of that, take out 5 or 6 more cars. And the same thing happened with Stroll. He like you said, cut the corner. It's pretty obvious what you do at that point, especially if you're in grass. No, he decided to veer back on the track, hit Leclerc, and then Leclerc went into 5 other 6 cars. I think that yes, that's justified, especially knowing that the conditions are slippery, it's raining, and stuff like that. It's more dangerous.
No, I don't think it was. I don't know. I don't agree with it. So, because I would agree if it would have, to me would justify if both of these drivers would have kept on with the race, but they also came out of the race. They were all so they went into this race to take themselves out. No, it's just a lap 1 incident because of the weather. It's super slippery, just like you said earlier. So I don't see it.
So what do you think they should have gotten, or both of you? I asked you that question.
Well, I mean, to me, I'll be honest with you, I see both sides, right? To me, if I'm Toto Wolff, Christian Horner, whoever, no problem. I'll send my second driver to just dive bomb whoever. I'll take five grid places. If that's the result, okay, no problem. I'll take it every time
That's
to
the
win
cause? Okay.
the drivers' championship. No problem. But aside from that, right? Obviously, whatever.
That's a bit exaggerated, but
No, but that's what it lands on.
In Formula One, haven't been people stretching the rules.
yeah,
All the time, and I would be the one to be like, okay, go do your thing, driver number 2. But on the flip side of that, right, I don't believe that they should have gotten penalties, and the reason for that is that we've seen the stewards and the stewarding be consistent across multiple races and consistent. Finally, this season it's been very, very consistent. I could say, even if we disagree in some cases, it's been consistent. Granted, this is now a cross season. In 2020 at the Styrian Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc went up on his own teammates, almost the same style of turn at the start of the Austria track, Red Bull Ring. hit his teammate. What was the result? Granted, he hit his own teammate and took him out. What was the result? No issue. There was no penalty, no nothing.
He didn't get anything?
Nothing. And it was dry.
Yeah.
So you have a greater control of your car. There's less of a margin for error. Is that, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. The chance of creating it or making a error is lessened because you don't have to deal with the weather conditions.
Right.
They didn't give Leclerc a penalty, but they're giving Bottas and Lance Stroll penalties for trying to deal with the rain, trying to avoid the crash, etc. in the first lap, which historically they don't assign any kind of penalties in the first lap. So I see
Plus,
both.
you got to
sides.
remember also, it was not raining all weekend. It just happened to rain yesterday morning.
Right, so they should be a little more lenient.
Yes.
For that hour.
Yeah.
Yeah, for that, whatever.
Half an hour,
half hour, 45
race,
minutes.
Yeah.
So, I mean, like at the end of it, to me, I think that the race should have just, no penalty. Granted, it's for next race. No penalty, just whatever. Let it
going.
go because it's a first lap incident. The conditions were really crappy. Bottas
At
sucks.
that moment.
Yeah.
Bottas sucks. Stroll
Stroll
even more.
sucks. Yeah, Stroll sucks even more. And then we just kind of move on from there. I don't know. Did I convince you?
No.
Of course not. I always present like all this stuff, and then Yhancy's like, oh, no, I'll go with my gut.
I'm taking after Ruben.
Yeah. Oh, man. So, hey, guys, this is Wellington from the Jump to Start Racing crew. Before we start, I want to make sure to tell you to destroy that like button and to make sure to hit subscribe to be up to date with our episodes and clips. Please make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter. Our handle on both platforms is @JumpTheStartF1. See you there.